The story opens with Naomi preparing dinner when Yui rushes in, apologizing for being late. Naomi glances over and acknowledges her. Yui notices the karaage chicken and he gives a quiet nod. After school, they stop by the supermarket, then return to his apartment to share dinner, chatting easily across the table. Naomi's thoughts drift, and Yui catches his faint smirk. When she asks about it, he simply shakes his head and suggests they eat before the food gets cold. Side by side, they dine in the calm, familiar space, a routine that's quietly become part of their everyday life. It's the start of their days together, beneath the full bloom of cherry blossoms. To understand how we got here, let's go back a bit to when the duo first met. Naomi wakes at 7 as the alarm rings. He turns it off, washes his face, and pauses at the mirror, quietly acknowledging how much he has grown over time. Then he prepares breakfast, offers a small gesture of thanks, and begins eating, savoring the taste. It's his second spring in high school, and he has been living alone for 2 years in a spacious 1LDK on the second floor. The apartment has strong security, automatic locks, a parcel box, and a video intercom. Living alone can be demanding, but the place is a gift from his parents and reflects their care. Another thing he appreciates about his apartment is the view, the cherry blossoms in full bloom during spring. As he admires the scene, he hears a faint sound carried by the wind. Turning to look, he notices a girl standing at the window of the house next door. As he watches her, a single thought runs through his mind: how beautiful she looks. At the same time, he suddenly worries that staring like this might make him seem strange. The girl looks flustered, quickly apologizes as if she has done something wrong, and steps away from her window, disappearing inside. Naomi feels regret settle in and quietly thinks about how awkward the moment became. Then, noticing the time, he reacts with urgency and reminds himself that he needs to leave as well. On his way to school, Naomi runs into Katagiri-sensei, who greets him cheerfully. He returns the greeting politely, addressing her formally. She lightly complains about his stiff tone and reminds him that outside school, she prefers he call her more familiarly. She is Katagiri Kasumi, Naomi's homeroom teacher and also his cousin. He reminds her that she was the one who decided they should act like teacher and student whenever he is in his school uniform. Katagiri, somewhat casually, admits she might have said that without remembering clearly, then shifts the topic to how he looks. She points out that his uniform suits him more than it did the previous year. Naomi replies that naturally, a year brings change, but she meant something else. From her perspective, he seems to have become a bit more mature. As he walks with Kasumi, a memory surfaces. He recalls thinking that people who have known him for many years naturally see his growth. 2 years earlier, in his last year of junior high, he had begun seriously considering his future. Feeling an urge to grow up quickly, he told his mother he wanted to live on his own. She agreed, but only on the condition that he earned a scholarship. At that time, Kasumi was the one who supported him. She gave him the scholarship application and guided him through the process. When he succeeded and his parents still hesitated, he reminded his mother of the promise. Kasumi stood up for Nachan then, firmly pointing out that he had held up his end. Because of her, he eventually moved into his own place. Now, walking together toward school, Naomi thinks about how he owes his independence to her, which is why he can never truly be upset with her. Kasumi comments that he seems more mature than before, but he responds that 1 year alone cannot make someone fully grown. Naomi mentions that Nachan isn't mature either for her age, which she brushes off with playful fury before dismissing his words. Naomi can only sigh at her behavior, noting again that this is exactly why he says so. As they continue toward school, Kasumi changes the subject and mentions that a transfer student from another country will be joining their class. Naomi looks curious upon hearing about the new student. In Kasumi-sensei's Class 2A, a girl stands at the front and introduces herself as Yui Elijah Villiers. Kasumi explains that Villiers is an exchange student from England. Naomi watches her and immediately recognizes her as the neighbor he saw that morning. Kasumi adds that although Villiers has no issue with the language, there will still be things she may not be used to, so the class should support her. A classmate calls out to Naomi, teasing him about another beautiful girl transferring and asking for his thoughts. Naomi reacts with irritation, wondering why Kei is expected to make any sort of judgment. Kei seems satisfied, as if he expected that reaction. Sensei then instructs Villiers to take a seat in the very back, near the window. She mentions that if Villiers needs help with anything, she can ask Naomi Katagiri, who sits beside that seat. Villiers acknowledges this, and heads to her desk. Kasumi asks if she has any questions, and the classroom briefly falls quiet as Villiers settles into the seat next to Naomi Katagiri. Villiers answers calmly that she has no questions, explaining she already received information about the school and its rules beforehand. She then takes the seat beside our lad. He tries to ask if she is sure, and she confirms. Naomi reflects that, since the teacher placed some responsibility on him, he thought he should at least try to speak to her. Yet he finds himself unable to meet her eyes and senses an aura that discourages interaction. He reminds himself they are neighbors, though she does not seem to notice. He still wants to apologize for the morning. His thoughts are interrupted when Kay approaches Villiers-san and begins asking questions. First, he inquires why she chose to study in Japan. She replies that she has personal reasons, and he quickly apologizes for asking something difficult. He then asks if she has places she wants to visit. She responds that she has none. Kay assumes she prefers staying indoors, but she clarifies that is not the case. He continues trying to find a topic, asking what she wants to do in Japan and what she does on her days. Naomi watches and realizes even someone as sociable as Kay cannot find success here. Seeing Kay continue, Naomi steps in and lightly pulls him away, then addresses Villiers-san politely, telling her to let him know if she needs anything since their teacher requested it. She responds with a polite acknowledgement of thanks. When the final bell rings, students begin leaving. Villiers heads home, while Naomi and Kay remain seated in the classroom. Kay comments that she barely spoke the whole day. Naomi agrees and notes that her tone never changed, adding that some people simply prefer keeping to themselves, so it is best to respect that. Kay says it would be unfortunate to study abroad without making friends, but adds that Villiers does not seem like the type to avoid socializing. He recalls classmates mentioning that Villiers is from an English noble family. Naomi is surprised, and Kay explains that although the name is not well known in Japan, she is considered a genuine aristocrat. Naomi briefly imagines it. Kay continues, noting it is impressive for someone her age to study in another country, and going alone is hard to imagine. Naomi repeats, alone, wondering if she truly came from England by herself. Kay says Kasumi mentioned she is studying abroad, so she is likely on her own, though one would expect her to stay with someone familiar. Naomi silently questions this. He thinks about his own apartment, mostly meant for single residents, and recalls seeing Villiers move in only the day before, which felt sudden. Even though his parents live a couple of hours away, adjusting to living alone had been challenging. Villiers, however, manages it in a foreign country. Naomi tells Kay that unless Villiers-san asks for help, there is nothing they can do. Kay teases him about always helping others, and Naomi responds curtly. Kay laughs, acknowledging Naomi has a point. He gets ready to leave, and Kay asks if he has his usual part-time job that day. Naomi replies by pointing out that Kay also works on weekends, though technically in a questionable setting. Kay quickly defends himself, saying he only helps his family's business, which is a nightclub. He even invites Naomi to visit, promising special treatment. Naomi tells him he will consider it once he is legally allowed to drink, then heads out of the classroom. After school, Naomi stops by the church connected to Tosei Academy. The academy is a long-established Catholic mission school, and the church on campus also serves the surrounding community. He assists the organist at the church. The church hosts weddings and funerals on Sundays, and his role counts as a school-approved activity. Though regular part-time work is prohibited, helping with church duties is treated as extracurricular service, so it is allowed. He knows he could earn more working off campus secretly, but he avoids it to protect his scholarship. When the church is empty, he practices the organ freely. It has become his routine to rehearse there, and after finishing one piece, he quietly prepares to play the next. While he is practicing, Villiers-san suddenly appears and calls his name. Later, she arrives at the office to apply for the same part-time position. Naomi is present and recognizes why she is there. She asks if Kasumi-san, their homeroom teacher, is handling the interview. Naomi confirms and gives her the application, mentioning she can fold it if she wants privacy. Villiers replies calmly that it is fine. He notices she uses a cute pen as she fills out the form. He glances at it once she finishes. He wonders if her middle name is a Christian baptism name, and she confirms it. Naomi reflects that since their school is Christian and has exchange programs, that it is natural she came here and was recommended for this work. When he notices she listed living expenses as her reason, he quietly asks if she means basic needs. She agrees. Naomi is surprised that a noble girl from England must cover her own costs, finding it unusual that she manages her living expenses like a regular student abroad. He mentions the job does not pay much and that another job would be more practical. She explains she only wants to earn a small amount within the allowed limits and handle a portion herself. Naomi listens, realizing her determination and the contrast between her status and her modest efforts. Naomi asks her something personal and quickly regrets it, apologizing for bringing it up. She responds calmly and thanks him for the guidance he gave earlier. He tells her he will submit the application to the administrator and asks if she has any further questions. Villiers-san hesitates, then asks if she may ask something unrelated to work. When he agrees, she slowly brings up the question about whether he lives in the apartment next to hers. Naomi realizes she recognized him too and confirms he noticed her in class. He then understands why she appeared surprised earlier. They both speak at the same time, apologizing to each other for their earlier behavior and misunderstanding. Hearing each other say the same thing, they pause in surprise. Villiers-San asks why he is apologizing, and Naomi questions why she is doing the same. She explains she worried he might have been bothered hearing an odd tune from the apartment next door. He repeats her wording in mild surprise. She adds that she will be more mindful going forward and asks him to overlook it this time. Naomi responds awkwardly, agreeing after a moment. He admits he also unintentionally overheard, so they share responsibility. Villiers thanks him. Naomi reflects silently that he doesn't fully understand the situation, but since she is not upset, there is no issue. He wonders if he can ask one last thing, and she agrees. He informs her that the song wasn't unpleasant, and he simply wanted to make that point clear. She gently calls Katagiri-san and thanks him. Hearing this, he notices her faint smile. She asks what happened, and he replies that nothing is wrong. Villiers gets ready to leave, and Naomi tells her to return after school early next week so he can explain the job. She agrees politely and expresses that she looks forward to working together. Before stepping out, she turns back and praises his organ playing, saying she will see him next week, then leaves. Naomi feels confused by her sudden bright smile, finding her hard to read. He continues his practice. A few hours later, he unexpectedly sees her again. This time, her expression is the complete opposite, sharp and cold, as if warning others to stay away. The drastic shift surprises him. One day, Naomi stops by the supermarket after finishing organ practice. As he walks through the aisles, he suddenly notices Villiers-San there as well. He sees her looking at a discounted meal box and wonders why she seems so focused on it. In his mind, he questions whether she wants it and why she is staring at the reduced price sticker. Villiers notices him too and greets him politely. Naomi reacts with light surprise and mentally explains that he often comes to this supermarket because it is close, affordable, and has a good variety. He quickly insists to himself that he did not follow her and tries to keep the situation casual. She looks curiously at the discounted bento, unsure why the price is reduced. Naomi becomes surprised that she does not understand the system. He wonders if discounted meal boxes exist in her home country. When she seems confused by the term used for discounted food, he points to the expiration time printed on the package. He recalls that once that time passes, the store cannot sell it at full price, so they lower it to half to avoid a loss. Villiers listens politely. Naomi thinks about how convenient the half-price system is. She acknowledges it in a quiet, reserved way, trying to understand this Japanese practice. While watching her, Naomi wonders whether her country has any temporary discount system at all. He remembers hearing that she comes from a noble background and assumes she probably has never visited a regular grocery store before. As he continues observing her, he questions how someone from such a privileged lifestyle ended up living alone in Japan. He calmly tells her there is no reason to doubt discounted food and explains that it is helpful for people living alone who want to manage expenses wisely. Villiers responds politely and expresses appreciation for the explanation. She decides to buy the meal and plans to enjoy it for dinner with gratitude. The elevator reaches the first floor and they step inside. During the ride, Naomi wonders if she intends to avoid eating anything until she finds another discounted meal the next day. He thinks that only drinking water would not satisfy her and wonders if she has forgotten to exchange her money and therefore has nothing to spend. Inside, she silently reassures herself that she does have enough local currency. Naomi then considers whether she might be feeling unwell or simply has no appetite. She reflects on the time difference she is still adjusting to, but tells herself she is fine. She simply wishes to avoid spending money and hopes he does not notice. When the elevator reaches the second floor, Naomi silently thinks about wanting to earn more so he can fully support himself. He looks at her and considers that although she appears elegant and refined, she is not acting like someone raised in that environment. She reacts with quiet confusion, and Naomi dismisses the thought without explaining. They exit the elevator and begin walking toward their apartments. Naomi suddenly stops and asks her to wait before going farther. He reflects on how she is living away from her parents at her age, studying in a foreign country by herself. He believes her family must have given her enough funds to live comfortably, yet he senses her determination to avoid spending that money and support herself instead. He also notices her quiet resolve not to discuss her situation with anyone. These qualities make him admire her even more. Suddenly, he runs to his apartment, opens his refrigerator, and quickly returns carrying food. He brings leftover simmered meat and potatoes along with vegetable soup, thinking it will help her manage until the next day. He considers that if she has a microwave-safe container, she can heat it easily, and if not, she can warm it in a pot or pan. She looks uncertain and quietly wonders what he is giving her. Naomi thinks about whether she owns a microwave or pan. She confirms she does, but hesitates, wondering how much she should pay him for the food. Naomi smiles, thinking that he offered it on his own, so she should not worry. He believes his cooking is not extraordinary and that he cannot rely on it as a future skill, but at least it should be edible after a year of cooking for himself. Still, he is unsure whether it suits someone with an aristocratic background. Villiers hesitates, feeling grateful yet unsure about accepting such kindness. Naomi thinks she could have bought the discounted meal if they had not been talking earlier, and that the food he brought is simply leftover home-cooked food, so she should not overthink it. She appreciates his thoughtfulness, but worries about causing inconvenience. Naomi finds her concern unnecessary. She has done nothing wrong. He considers her reaction responsible and sincere. He admits he does not fully understand her circumstances, but knowing a classmate next door might endure hunger makes it difficult to ignore. He wonders what kind of person he would be if he did nothing. Supporting each other is what responsible people do, and he recalls once being in a similar situation. She quietly wonders if Naomi also experienced something similar. Naomi remembers how, the previous year, he felt unable to accomplish anything and acted stubbornly, troubling others. He recalls how he reconsidered his behavior, received support from many people, and eventually got through it. In his mind, he insists that since he prepared food for her, she should eat it. He knows his actions may seem intrusive, but he still wants her to accept. He does not dislike people who work sincerely to live properly. Villiers watches him, unsure. Naomi returns to his apartment. As he walks away, she remains standing there, puzzled. Inside, he sighs and thinks he might have spoken too seriously. He reminds himself he expects nothing in return and has no hidden intent. It is simply better for her to eat today than struggle until the next evening. Suddenly the doorbell rings. Naomi opens the door and finds Villiers there. He wonders what happened. She hesitates and apologizes, explaining that although she has a microwave, she cannot use it because her electricity has not been activated yet. Naomi realizes he did not know and feels apologetic for assuming. He brings her inside, warms the food, and serves it. He wonders whether she can use chopsticks and mentions he has other utensils if needed. She quietly indicates she can handle chopsticks, though she still looks unsure. Naomi feels relieved and encourages her to begin eating. They share a quiet moment of thanks before starting the meal. Naomi begins eating but notices she has not started yet. He wonders if she is not hungry or cannot eat something in the dish. She reassures herself she is not picky. Naomi reflects that the food is not special, but since it is warm, she should eat it while it tastes good. She agrees and finally lifts her chopsticks. She tastes one dish and finds it pleasant. Then she tries another and enjoys that too. She continues eating, taking small bites as she tests each flavor. After finishing, she expresses gratitude for the meal. Naomi prepares a cup of green tea for her, and she thanks him again. When she finishes, he decides to handle the cleaning and tells her to rest. She insists on helping, and he tells her she can place the used dishes together while he washes them. She agrees. Naomi begins washing the dishes. Villiers stays nearby, saying she will wait for him to finish. Naomi tells her there is no need to wait and she can just leave the dishes stacked. She worries stacking them might damage them. He reassures her it is fine since he will wash them immediately. She apologizes, admitting she is unfamiliar with such tasks. Naomi quietly notes that she truly is not accustomed to kitchen work, reinforcing his impression of her refined upbringing. He tells her she does not need to apologize every time she encounters something unfamiliar. She apologizes again, and then once more after realizing it. Hearing this, Naomi cannot help laughing. She becomes flustered, wondering why he is laughing. Naomi thinks she is unexpectedly amusing. She questions whether he truly finds her amusing or if he might be offended, imagining how embarrassing this would be in her home country. Naomi considers the thought and decides he would not be bothered by such things. He finds it more endearing than troublesome, which confuses her. Meanwhile, he privately thinks an aristocratic household must have strict expectations for her to worry so much. He reassures her and suggests she relax with tea. While he finishes cleaning, she understands and steps aside, though she clearly feels unhelpful just standing there. Later, when she prepares to leave, he hands her portions of soup and stew to take home. She thanks him. He reminds her to activate her electricity the next day and asks if she needs help contacting the utility provider. She explains she already arranged the account, but still has no power. Naomi mentions that the electricity should work after switching on the breaker and asks if she checked it. She appears unfamiliar with what he means. He explains that she needs to turn it on to activate the power. She apologizes again, worried that her ignorance caused trouble after he already served her dinner. Naomi reassures her it is normal not to know everything in the beginning. He recalls saying earlier that ignoring something because you do not understand it is the real mistake. There is nothing shameful about learning. He also tells her not to feel distressed. He is glad she had a proper meal and sees no reason for her to feel guilty. He remembers when he first began his scholarship journey, thinking he could handle everything alone, yet not even knowing how to use basic household appliances. His parents, his sister, and Kay helped him, and that support is why he feels strongly about helping her now. He considers her situation. She chose to come to Japan alone, with her own goals and determination, and he finds that admirable. Villiers acknowledges her inexperience and accepts it. She understands she chose to live independently and, instead of regretting it, feels grateful for the support she receives. Naomi receives her thanks calmly. He tells her she can rely on him if she ever needs help again, believing every moment holds meaning. Villiers responds with quiet anticipation for the future, prepared to reach out when needed. They share a gentle understanding as the moment settles between them. The following Monday, Naomi enters the classroom and comments that Kay looking tired as usual. Kay responds casually, explaining that the weekends are the most profitable time for him to earn money. Naomi understands his situation. While they talk, Villiers-san quietly enters the classroom and takes her seat beside Naomi. He believes that their meeting the other day was a coincidence. They are not close enough to greet each other naturally. He also wonders whether she managed to get the discounted lunchbox. Villiers hesitantly greets him before turning away, and Naomi realizes what she meant by wanting to change herself little by little. He understands her intention and returns the greeting. Soon after, another girl approaches and invites Villiers-san to eat lunch together. She accepts politely and walks away with her. Kay notes and remarks that, judging by how she is doing, Villiers might not need someone to look after her anymore. Naomi agrees, relieved she isn't facing problems. Kay remembers how distant she was the previous week and wonders whether something happened over the weekend. Naomi answers vaguely, but notes that she's trying her best. Later, two boys invite her out after school. They suggest karaoke and offer the arcade instead if she feels uncomfortable singing, but she declines bluntly. Naomi observes quietly. Just as he expected, she still keeps distance from boys. The boy who tried to talk to her sighed dramatically, saying he thought he might have had a chance. Later in the office, Villiers approaches Naomi. He hands her the permission slip for her part-time work, and she accepts politely. He explains that the job is only available when there are not enough helpers during church gatherings, so the payment is very small. Villiers asks if the next event will be Easter. Naomi explains it will be held on the final Sunday of the month. She notes the timing feels unusual. He tells her the school has a packed schedule in April, so the event was moved. Until then, they are expected to attend special church activities whenever possible. He asks whether she is free that day, and she confirms she is. Naomi briefly thinks about the cat-themed notebook Villiers-san took out, unsure if it is trendy. He begins to speak, but Katagiri-sensei suddenly calls Na-chan, asking cheerfully if he is there. Naomi reminds her they are still on school property, and she reacts with mild surprise. She brushes it off, saying no one else is around. Naomi points out that this kind of behavior is exactly what causes trouble with the head teacher. Kasumi groans, accusing him of not being cute again. He's losing his charm each year. Villiers watches, unsure how to react. Naomi then explains to Villiers-san that their homeroom teacher is his cousin. She understands. Kasumi-sensei then asks if they get along and welcomes Villiers-san as someone helping at church. She adds that Naomi may seem unfriendly, but is actually a good person. Villiers replies politely that she already knows, leaving Kasumi confused. Naomi asks why Katagiri-sensei came, hinting she usually appears only when there's a problem. She denies it and complains about being disagreeable every time she visits. She then requests help carrying church pamphlets for Sunday, insisting he should do it. Naomi answers quietly, sounding slightly reluctant, but accepts the task. He turns to Villiers, asks her to wait for a moment, and steps away to help. Kasumi nods, thinking he speaks very smoothly, and decides to finish quickly. On his way back, Naomi reflects that the task took longer than expected. Passing near the church, he hears a voice and pauses. Inside, he finds her singing. Upon seeing him, Villiers freezes in shock. He apologizes for overhearing and praises her voice, asking if she used to be in a choir in her home country. He suggests that singing might open more opportunities for her, but Villiers quietly admits she can no longer sing in front of others and has lost her confidence. Naomi apologizes for bringing it up, and she does too before saying she'll take one paper bag. He thanks her. As she leaves, Naomi reflects that everyone has their own circumstances. Back in the office, they place the booklets on the shelf together. Naomi expresses quiet appreciation, saying her help made things easier. Villiers modestly replies that she didn't do much. He adds that after helping his cousin, he only has one more thing to finish. Villiers hesitantly calls his attention and steps closer. She explains she has something to give him, apologizing for coming late because she felt uneasy visiting on his day off. Curious, Naomi asks what it is. She says it is a small token of gratitude for the meal he shared with her, adding she truly enjoyed both dishes. Naomi responds that cooking is simply something he likes doing, so she didn't need to repay him. Villiers bows politely. He asks if he may open the package. She gives permission nervously. Inside is a small pouch with cookies. Surprised, he asks if she made them herself. Villiers nods, explaining she didn't want to just buy something. She mentions that he helped her save a lot of money, so she wanted to do something with her own effort. Her cheeks redden as she speaks. She adds that she saw a recipe while looking at discounted meals and decided to try baking, following his example. Apologetically, she repeats herself, feeling awkward. Naomi quietly realizes she must have seen the recipe display at the supermarket. She admits she has almost no kitchen experience and felt nervous trying to make something, but she didn't want to rely on buying a gift and decided to put in effort instead. Naomi takes a cookie and tastes it. The crisp texture surprises him. Villiers watches shyly. He finds it delicious. She looks relieved, happy that it suited him, and thinks making someone happy feels fulfilling. Naomi praises the cookie, surprised it is her first time baking. Villiers suddenly asks if he is okay. He reminds her she said she wanted to change herself. She nods. Naomi tells her she can improve gradually, just as he has over time. Encouraged, she promises to do her best. As they leave the office, Naomi approves of her attitude and tells her she can learn the job responsibilities slowly. Villiers smiles and comments that she looks forward to working together. One night, Kasumi calls Naomi and asks if he is free the next day. She insists that he must be available and tells him to accompany her shopping. She explains that if she goes by herself, she might get irritated by strangers trying to talk to her. Naomi tells her he does not have any plans, but still questions why it has to be on a Sunday. Kasumi reacts as if she already knew he was free and decides everything on her own, instructing him to meet her in Yokohama at 2 p.m. Before he can say anything else, she ends the call abruptly. The next day, he waits at the meeting spot in the shopping district, but Nae-san does not appear, even though the arranged time has already passed. While waiting, he grows uneasy and takes out his phone to call her. Kasumi answers and repeatedly apologizes. She explains that unexpected documents appeared and must be completed and handed in by the following day. Hearing this, he becomes upset and points out that she made him come all the way there only to cancel at the last moment. After the call ends, he stands there frustrated. He sighs, thinking about how he came all the way to Yokohama for nothing. With nothing else to do, he decides to head home. Just then, behind him, he hears a man speaking cheerfully, offering to guide someone to a store and suggesting they pay for her coffee. When Naomi turns around, he notices that it's Villiers-san. He looks carefully and notices two unfamiliar men standing near her, clearly trying to approach her. He recognizes the type, men who deliberately talk to girls in crowded places, and thinks about how such people really do exist. The men continue pressuring her, though Villiers tries to decline, insisting she is fine and does not need anything, but they ignore her and keep talking. Naomi notices her discomfort. Villiers refuses politely again, but they ignore her and start asking for her contact information instead, saying they just need a way to message her. Naomi can clearly see she does not want to go anywhere with them. He hesitates. He dislikes getting involved in situations like this and feels awkward pretending in moments like these. However, he dislikes ignoring someone he knows in trouble even more. With that thought, he steps forward, approaches Villiers, and acts as if he had been waiting for her. Villiers reacts with surprise when she sees him, immediately recognizing him, and Naomi naturally continues the act, standing beside her. Realizing the situation, the two men quickly back off, apologizing and making excuses as they leave. Once they are gone, Naomi remains beside Villiers. As they leave, Naomi thinks about how smoothly they backed away and how naturally they acted while doing so, as if it was all normal to them. He then checks on Villiers, worried if she is all right. Suddenly, she lowers herself to the ground, shaken. She trembles, saying the situation frightened her. Naomi muses that even her cousin from Japan mentioned being scared in situations like this, understanding that being approached by two unknown men in another country would frighten anyone, even a guy like himself. He apologizes, feeling he should have stepped in sooner. Villiers insists she truly appreciates his help. People nearby glance their way briefly before walking past. Naomi notices that she is still unsettled and feels she cannot be left alone yet. He asks what brought her to Yokohama. Villiers explains she came to buy a smartphone. Naomi is surprised and asks if she has never owned one. She admits she has not and never needed one before, but her family told her to get one so she could stay in contact. They even informed her school about it. Naomi asks if she was harassed like that immediately after arriving, and she nods. He suggests they go somewhere calm first so she can relax before buying anything. He offers to accompany her once she feels settled. Villiers asks if he really plans to come along. Naomi tells her that as long as he is there, she should not face the same trouble. He tells her she does not need to go if it is inconvenient. Naomi hesitates, but still indicates he will go with her. Villiers softly replies that she would not have a problem with him being there. Naomi asks what she means. Villiers explains she feels uneasy, making him come along for something that is her own task, especially on his day off. Naomi replies that he tends to involve himself in things even when he does not have to, and she should think of it as something he wants to do, as long as she does not mind. Villiers quietly says his name, touched. Naomi adds that he has free time anyway, and he might be helpful not only preventing trouble but also guiding her. Villiers gives a small smile and tells him he is always thoughtful. Naomi repeats that he is free. Today. Villiers then asks, since he is free, if he would like to go with her to buy the phone. Naomi agrees and clarifies that if she is comfortable with it, he will accompany her. She accepts, and they head to the store together. At the store, the staff presents different phones, explaining the newest version and the previous one. She says the latest model supports high-resolution video, improved water protection, better camera quality, and very large storage for recording videos, gaming, reading digital books, and similar uses. Villiers becomes overwhelmed by the unfamiliar terms and looks to Naomi, confused by one of the words. Naomi gently tells her to breathe and settle herself first. She looks again, unsure, and he explains that new versions come out every year. He suggests she could choose a phone like his if she wants help using it later, though she is free to choose any device. Without hesitation, Villiers chooses the same model. The employee shows that version and asks her to pick a color. She immediately points to one and makes her choice. After purchasing, they step outside. Villiers admits she could not have done it alone. Naomi says he is glad she managed to buy it. She answers enthusiastically. Naomi thinks he did not expect her to choose a soft pink color, but it suits her. He asks if she is comfortable having the same phone as him, as she could have chosen another if she wanted. Villiers happily shares that she is pleased. Although there were many options, she feels satisfied choosing one she considers cute. Naomi reacts internally to her simple joy. Then he asks if she can use it properly. Villiers compares herself to someone who cannot make use of something valuable, explaining it is similar to a Japanese saying, and tells him she will need his help learning. Naomi asks if she has any apps in mind. She mentions a word unfamiliar to him, and he explains it is a shorter term for applications, like games, video players, and internet browsers. Villiers admits she does not know much about those things. Naomi realizes this is her first smartphone and decides to start by teaching her contacts. He asks if she has family numbers, and she confirms she does, but left her address book at home. Naomi reassures her that it is fine and says she can use his number for practice. Thinking he will be the first contact in her phone, he tells her she can save the rest at home. Villiers asks if she can use his number, and he says it is fine if she is comfortable. She politely asks him to treat her properly in return. Naomi instructs her to open the phone icon and guides her step by step through saving his contact. When done, Villiers becomes excited, saying Katagiri-san is the first. Naomi proposes it is simpler to say he is the first person in her contacts, because her wording could cause misunderstandings. Villiers does not understand how it is confusing, and insists it is not misleading. Naomi explains the phrase is interpreted differently in Japan. Villiers becomes worried and asks if it could be dangerous. Naomi reassures her it is not and tells her to stay calm. He then adds that for now, she should focus on practicing contact registration. Villiers says she understands, but asks where the misunderstanding happens. Then he suddenly remembers he forgot to charge his IC card and rushes toward the station. Later, they wait together on the platform. Naomi notices the crowd growing. Villiers calmly reflects that if she had not met Katagiri-san, she does not know what would have happened. She claims she came to Japan seeking change, and meeting him gave her a chance to grow that she might not have had otherwise. Naomi tells her she is overthinking it, but she insists she means it. Naomi thinks he is glad he could help in some way. An announcement plays, instructing passengers to stay behind the safety line as the train arrives. Villiers sends him a message, thanking him again for his help that day. At around 12:07 a.m., Naomi sits in his room, watching television. The screen shows the end of a weather report, followed by the start of the news. He turns off the TV, thinking to himself that it is probably time to sleep. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. He pauses, confused about who could be visiting at such a late hour. When he checks and opens the door, he finds Villiers standing there. She looks panicked and desperate, asking for his help. Her voice rises in fear as she explains that something in her room is staring at her and moving. Naomi tries to calm her, thinking it is just a cockroach and not actually dangerous. However, she continues reacting with intense fear, saying she cannot handle insects at all. As Naomi steps into her room, he realizes this is his first time being inside a girl's room, and the situation is completely different from how he ever imagined such a moment would be. He remembers things he once heard about moments like this, and suddenly understands they were true. The faint scent in the room is something he only ever encountered in romance stories, making him keenly aware of how unusual this moment is. Villiers points toward the space under her bed, saying it came from there. She appears nervous and hides slightly behind Naomi, distressed at the idea of anything near her bed. He steadies himself, reminding himself to focus. He prepares to deal with the insect and asks her to calm down while he gets ready to remove it. About 10 minutes later, Villiers repeatedly thanks him, still emotional from the situation. She lightly grabs his arm from the side in relief, saying she does not know what to say to show her gratitude properly. Naomi reassures her that she does not need to cry anymore. After a moment, he notices she seems calmer, though he admits to himself that the atmosphere is far from what one might imagine in a scene like this. He reminds himself that real situations never match dramatic romance settings, even if he is in a girl's room late at night, and she is close to him in pajamas. Villiers apologizes for disturbing him while he was resting and offers to make tea, asking him to sit for a moment. As he watches her move, he notices her hair is slightly damp, realizing she must have just come out of the bath before rushing to him. He understands it was an emergency, but part of him wonders if she is being too unguarded. After a short time, Villiers returns with tea and places it in front of him, apologizing for making him wait. They sit and drink together. She asks if she should bring another cup, but Naomi tells her he can handle it and she should relax. Looking around her place, he notices modern appliances and expensive kitchenware, thinking she truly seems like someone raised with comfort. While pouring tea for himself, he remembers she once mentioned never handling kitchen tasks, so he assumes her parents likely provided everything. He comments on her kitchen, suggesting she does not really use it. Villiers explains she tried cooking after seeing him do it, making several attempts, but never achieved a satisfying result. She eventually learned that buying discounted meals or small prepared dishes was cheaper and quicker. Hearing this, Naomi understands she is not neglecting her meals. He reflects that instant food and prepared sides really are cheaper and more convenient than cooking alone. After thinking for a moment, he speaks again, saying there is an even more affordable option. He explains that if they eat dinner together, the cost will go down, since making food for two takes nearly the same effort as for one. He suggests that, from now on, they could have dinner together at his place. Villiers looks unsure and softly repeats his words, questioning the idea of sharing meals. She asks if he really means the two of them. Naomi confirms, explaining that preparing 2 portions does not require much extra effort, and the cost does not simply double. He adds that sharing dinner would benefit both of them. Villiers considers it, admitting the idea is convenient, but hesitates because she does not want to trouble him. Naomi reassures her, saying it would not trouble him and it would also help lower his own food costs. He adds that if she helps with preparation, it will make things easier, making it a fair arrangement. She agrees his point makes sense, yet still looks uncertain. Naomi then adds that there is another advantage for him. Curious, she asks what he means, and he explains that she genuinely seemed to enjoy his cooking before. Villiers repeats his words about mutual benefit and comments on his considerate nature. Naomi smiles and replies that he simply acts when someone is facing difficulties, insisting he is not especially kind. Inside, he admits to himself that his actions are not purely generous. He acts because he wants to, inviting her for meals, helping her when she faced unwanted attention, assisting her in getting a phone. He realizes these choices were made because he feels fulfilled seeing her reactions. He remembers how shyly she complimented his cooking before and how happy it made her, and how that made him happy in return. He wonders how different her life might be if they had never met. To him, the happiness he feels seeing her smile is what matters most. Lost in thought, he hears Villiers speak, asking him to listen. She begins sharing her story. She explains she was born to a Japanese mother and an English father, raised in Japan at first. By the time she understood the world around her, her father was already absent, leaving only her mother. Naomi reacts with surprise when he hears her family name, but she continues. She explains her father came from an old noble family, and because they did not approve of him living in Japan with her mother, he stayed away. When she was 6, her mother passed away, and with no relatives in Japan, she was sent to the the main family in England. Because of her mixed background, she was not welcome there. Most treated her as a burden, and even her father never cared. Only her half-sister showed her kindness. Wanting not to cause trouble, she learned to stay quiet and unnoticed. Eventually, she faced a serious issue and became unwelcome in that house too. Her sister arranged for her to come to Japan under the explanation of studying abroad. She arrived with the hope that this would be her chance to start over and change her life. Villiers continues, saying she believes leaving home and meeting Katagiri-san were necessary steps for her growth. He calls her, and she repeats that she wants to change. She says she no longer wants to live with her head lowered. Someone's kindness made her realize she can move forward, so she wants to speak clearly and asks him to support her until she can stand on her own. Naomi listens, thinking about the determination in her voice. He reflects on how she grew up without anyone she could depend on, always afraid of causing trouble, always holding herself back. Even her father abandoned her, leaving her with no place to belong. Despite all of that, she still asks sincerely for help. He tells her to lift her head, suggesting they stop treating this as a plea. She looks confused, and he explains that support between friends is natural, not something that needs to be asked for formally. Surprised, she repeats the word, friend, trying to grasp what he means. Naomi says they are friends. He admits he cannot fully understand everything she has gone through, but if he can be someone she relies on, he will support her properly as an equal. To him, a friend in difficulty does not need to explain why they need help. Hearing this, she responds that she also wants to be his friend. Naomi softly agrees. The next day, Villiers arrives at Naomi's apartment. She greets him and immediately notices the food, saying it smells wonderful. She says she has been looking forward to it ever since receiving his message. Naomi acknowledges her excitement. She asks if she can help with the cooking, and Naomi suggests she finally chop cabbage. She becomes nervous because it involves a knife. Seeing her hesitation, he tells her that helping with dishes later is fine and encourages her to relax. She assures him she will do her best with cleaning and apologizes for not being more useful. Naomi smiles, telling her it is perfectly fine and she can improve little by little. He then offers her a taste of the food. She insists tasting is not real help, but he explains it is actually important. She hesitates, and he guides her so she does not burn herself as he feeds her a small portion. She tastes it and immediately praises it, calling it delicious. Naomi reacts with an awkward expression, which she notices, asking if something is wrong. He admits her reaction felt unexpectedly personal. She apologizes in embarrassment, but he reassures her that it is fine. When he asks how it tastes again, she repeats that it is truly delicious. Naomi says he is glad. They set the table and begin eating. Naomi comments on keeping the food warm. Villiers, a little nervous, asks if she can make a request. She says she would prefer to be called by her given name rather than her family name. Naomi confirms her given name is Yui. She explains that usually given names are for close friends, but she feels uncomfortable being addressed by her family name. She adds she would be happy if her friends used her given name, though she accepts classmates using her surname. Naomi quietly reflects. He realizes how strong she is. She spoke about her past simply, but he knows it was not simple at all. He understands how painful it must be to hear her family name when it reminds her of that history, and he can see it in her expression. After thinking, he agrees to call her Yui from now on. She brightens, saying in that case she wants him to stop using honorifics as well. She tries calling him by his family name alone, but it sounds awkward. Naomi admits it feels strange to him too. He tells her she can use his given name as well and mentions that first name use is normal in other countries. Yui explains that in her home, people used family names, so saying a man's given name feels embarrassing. Naomi admits he also feels shy calling a girl by her given name, making them both flustered. Yui tries saying his name while he teases her lightly, and she insists she is serious. He apologizes while laughing. They both laugh softly, and finally they call each other by their given names. They exchange a polite promise to continue treating each other well, though she accidentally adds the honorific again. Meanwhile in London, a young woman checks her phone and sees no news from the person she is thinking about. She turns to her maid, asking if she can arrange a ticket to Japan for the next day or the day after. The maid responds that she will handle it. The woman wonders quietly how Yui is managing on her own, concern showing as she softly says Yui's name, her thoughts lingering on the girl far away.